What are your thoughts on Bernie Sanders?
Well, Bernie Sanders is an interesting guy. He started out, I mean, when he took office, when he got involved in Vermont politics, he was very clearly like an ally of the Communist Party, of the new communist movement. He had Trotskyite supporters, and he's a guy who comes from a left background. Um, his foreign policy views are not mine. And in the 90s, they really started to shift. He supported Bill Clinton's bombing of Serbia. I obviously don't agree with that. And a lot of the things he said about foreign policy are not my view. He especially, it was very clear when he was mayor of Burlington and when he was first involved in Vermont politics, when he said socialist, he meant he wanted the banks, factories, and industries to be organized to serve public good. And he wanted a socialist society. Now he says socialism just kind of means a bigger welfare state, Roosevelt New Dealism. But he comes out of the movement, and that became very apparent. And the fact that when it looked like he might get the nomination, the media went into overdrive, playing up, good things he said about Fidel Castro and the Sandinistas. That's because they know who he is. I wrote an article called "A Deep State Grudge Against Bernie Sanders," and if you saw that meltdown by Chris Matthews, where he started, yelling about executions in Central Park and stuff like that, it's pretty clear the CIA knows that this is a guy who maybe he's changed his mind or whatever, but he was friendly towards socialist and revolutionary forces at one time. We don't trust him. We're not going to let him in the White House, right? He might have some good policy ideas that might stabilize capitalism, sure. We're not going to let him get anywhere near the White House. And he was mistreated by the media, mistreated by the DNC. And so in that sense, I can look up and respect Bernie Sanders. But his views over the past 2 decades, his views have shifted significantly away from where I'm at as someone who believes in Marxism. But he's an interesting guy, and his movement is amazing. You talk to the young people at his rallies. There's so much hope, so much optimism. That's the future of the country, is those young people who love their country and they want to make a better country, and they don't trust the profiteers and they don't trust the bankers, and they're opening to questioning this belief that capitalism is just the greatest system and the free market is always the answer. That's the hope. So anything that hardline revolutionary forces can do to gain an audience with those people, to get those people to actually engage with Marxist theory, is really, really important. I mean, during the 2016 campaign, I was blown away. I would go and cover Bernie Sanders rallies, and I would see maybe one or two communists there handing out newspapers. That was it. And I thought, this is New York City. There's a lot of communists in New York City, but they wouldn't go to those rallies. Instead, they were in a protest cage shouting at Trump supporters and shouting, "You racist, you're a dirty piece of garbage, you Trump supporter." They were too busy cursing out Trump supporters to try and engage with the young people that were getting into socialism in the Bernie Sanders movement. It just was a mistaken priority.